Hello, everyone, and welcome to our monthly demo series. My name is Joanna Swartwood, and I'm the Director of Growth Marketing and Demand Generation at Aisera. I'll be your host today, and I'll also field questions, so please do ask them. Joining me is Tyler Manning, Aisera Senior Sales Engineer, who is going to lead the session in demonstrating how Agentic AI simplifies service operations, including learning and enriching tickets automatically. Tyler will give an example of a ticket enrichment agent as AI analyzes intent, extracts entities, enriches details, and prepares tickets for faster downstream resolution. Supercharging your service desk with Agent Assist. See how Assist accelerates up to 20% of tickets by generating responses, recommended actions, and pre-built workflows. And elevating support experiences in real time. Tyler will explore enhanced live chat that lets agents and employees communicate seamlessly across languages and channels. As I mentioned, I'll be moderating the chat and the Q&A button, so please do ask your questions as they arise. We do want to make this as conversational as possible. We're very excited to have you all here. And with that said, Tyler, let's get started.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Joanna. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Hopefully everybody can see that. Now, before I just dive right in, I want to give a little bit more context to everybody about what the heck is a ticket enrichment agent. What are you guys doing with that? What are we kind of going to be looking at here today in a little bit more detail? So what I have up on the screen is one of our end user experiences. This is our Aisera Copilot channel. I'm going to be simply using that today to kind of field a few different user personas and have that submit a ticket to our ticketing system, which in this case is going to be Salesforce. And then we're going to swap into Salesforce once we submit that ticket. And we're actually going to notice two things. One is we have an AI ticket enrichment agent, which automatically evaluates, looks at all new incoming tickets, and it pulls data from around your enterprise ecosystem and gets it into the ticket. What that's going to help your agent do is they don't need to look up, who this customer is. They don't need to go pull some logging information out of a third-party system or some external database to get full context as to what's going on. Our AI ticket enrichment agent is going to pull all of that together automatically, and then the agent can go in and get started working. That's going to help them reduce MTTR, right? The other piece that we're going to be looking at today is Agent Assist, right? Which is a Aisera plugin that's going to help further reduce MTTR by giving your support desk agents, things like ticket summaries and looking at related tickets and suggesting next best action, searching internal kind of bespoke knowledge bases for your support desk agents, and then also giving them a chat assistant in line with their ticket so they can kind of get help and guidance as they go through things. So that's kind of the context of what we're going to be looking at. And then we're going to look at a couple other cool features that help us not only come in and help you deflect user tickets, resolve tickets faster, but then how do we improve over time, right? Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to start as one of our personas here, which is Emma Roberts. Just to show you that we're logged in as Emma Roberts here, and she is having an issue with one of her systems. Again, I'm just leveraging this Aisera Copilot channel to kind of manage and facilitate the ticket submission process. This ticket could get submitted in any way, right? If you guys have a form, if you have an email channel, doesn't matter, the ticket's going to get submitted by the user. And she's going to say, I am having an issue with my ONTAP system. Now, our agent's going to take that on the back end. And in this case, we're doing a little bit of hand holding on the ticket intake process, right? We have already gone out and we've looked at, who the heck is Emma Roberts and what data do we have on her within our CRM, within our customer database. And we found that she's in really good standing. She's always been very friendly to our support desk agents. So instead of just immediately going in and supporting that or submitting that ticket on her behalf, we're actually asking a follow-up question to give us a little bit more detail on the situation. And I'll just say I'm having performance degradation on NFS. Okay, that's going to take some of the additional detail that Emma has given us here, and it's going to go in and submit a ticket on her behalf. And again, in a production environment, depending on how comfortable you guys are with AI, we can have this be a lot more of a robust process where we're not just supporting a ticket, a user submitting a ticket, but we're actually trying to deflect that ticket entirely and just solve their issue right out of the gate, right? If we have the capability to solve it, we don't need to bother a human support agent. Let's reserve those conversations for areas where the AI support agent can't help the user resolve. Okay, so you see we've submitted a support ticket here. I'm just going to go click in to our Salesforce, and this is the case that got created. So you'll notice a few things here. And on the back end, we have our CRM, obviously, with some of Emma's details. We also have a database that is storing a lot of her information, such as how what her standing is with the company, what recent issues has she had, what region is she in, what language does she speak. All of that data is stored in Snowflake. It could be in any system that you guys might have, and it could be in more than one system. And we've already done a bunch of analysis based on all this data that we've coalesced together, right? We've looked at the issue that she's facing. We see that her account is in good standing and she's not a super high churn risk for us in this case. But we have had some other recent issues, including cluster, interconnect node communication, right? So maybe this issue is related to some of those reoccurring issues that Emma has had. I already have an understanding of that. And then I know that this is not the first time Emma's had this issue. There's actually other issues, again, part of a reoccurring pattern that she's been facing. And I've gone ahead and our AI ticket enrichment agent has pulled those ticket numbers, brought them back in, and now the agent can go look at those and dig into a little bit more of, why is this continuing to happen? Second thing that we've done here, third thing we've done, is we are connected to a public knowledge base, right? So our agent has actually gone out and searched the open internet for potentially issue or resolutions to this issue. If other people are saying similar things, this could be a private knowledge base. This could be a public knowledge base, and we've come back with an answer here. And then we have some closing notes for the agent. So we've done all of that automatically. And the other thing that we have done here is we've assigned this case owner, Mark Smith, based on a few different criteria. Number one, we know Emma has had a few of these recent issues, and we know Mark Smith was the guy who worked on them. So let's assign it to the same guy. His workload is low right now, and he's already kind of familiar with what's going on. Secondly, we know which region Emma is in based on details we've pulled out of the CRM and our Snowflake database. We know she's in the US. We know she's on the West Coast, and she has a certain hours there. And we also know that the specific products that she is dealing with, and we know Mark's an expert in those products. So we've pulled that in, and we've made sure to assign the appropriate case owner to this case. So all of that's done automatically behind the scenes. Now let's move over to the next piece of this, which is our Aisera Agent Assist plugin. Now I'm going to actually switch over briefly to a different case here. And you'll see we come out with a lot of out-of-the-box information, right? Case summary. Now, for situations where you actually have an Aisera agent deployed on the front end in front of your users, and that AI agent is attempting to resolve the issue your users are having, that could be a long-running conversation, right? It could be 50 messages back and forth, trying to figure out what's going on. Maybe we weren't able to figure it out, so we helped that user escalate that support ticket. We are taking all that information and just doing a brief summary, right? Let's give the support desk agent a sentence or two on what's going on and maybe some things that we've tried thus far that hasn't worked. And then that way the support desk agent can jump right in. The next piece of this is Aisera Answer. And this is going out to your connected knowledge repositories. It could be based out of SharePoint, Confluence, ServiceNow, Salesforce, doesn't matter where your knowledge is stored. We're taking the details that we have in the ticket that the user has provided us as part of their submission process, and we're automatically going back to your knowledge bases and searching for the correct answer, right? Now, for internal use cases, if you're thinking about like an IT support desk, you might have two knowledge bases, right? Maybe you have a user facing that everyone in your organization can access and look at. And maybe we already serviced up some of those knowledge articles and it didn't help your user and the issue still got escalated. And then you might have a private knowledge base for your support desk agents with a little bit more advanced troubleshooting only they have access to. So this Aisera answer can pull from both of those knowledge bases based on the entitlement level that your support desk agents have. And you see, of course, we link the relevant documents here, which in this case is a download of a Microsoft Word document that looks kind of like this. The next piece of this is next best actions. Oh, sorry, before I move on, this Aisera answer will only show up if you have a knowledge base article that we find that we say, hey, this is relevant to the issue at hand, right? If we don't find an answer, we're not just going to make something up on the fly. We're just going to say, hey, we couldn't find an answer for this, which that'll become a little bit more relevant later because that actually creates a good opportunity for us to capture some tribal knowledge, right? Because your high-tech human support agents are going to eventually resolve that issue, and that information is going to get documented somewhere. So let's make sure we capture that. The next piece of this is next best actions. And this is a model that we've trained on the back end based off of your ticket data, right? So we ingest all of your ticket data, we train a model on it, and it's doing some pretty advanced pattern matching there. And what we're doing is saying, hey, we have all this information on a ticket. We have comments from the user. We have maybe the conversation back and forth between the user and the agent. I'm going to run that through the model here, and I'm going to do advanced pattern matching and say, hey, we actually have some similar issues that we've faced in the past that are in the same state as this ticket. And here was the root issue. Here was the root cause. And in those cases, here are the troubleshooting steps that that agent went in and followed to resolve this user's issue. This is especially good and helpful for new agents, right? If you just hire someone on, this is very helpful to get them up and running quickly because they have a good reference from a more experienced agent on how to handle this type of ticket. And they can run through those steps and see if that resolves the issue. Now I'm going to switch back over to my case here that Emma Roberts submitted. And of course, you see the Aisera answer and next best actions didn't pop up, right? That means we don't have a knowledge base article available for this. This is going to be a really good opportunity for us to create a knowledge article. And we don't have any similar tickets, right? So this is something really new that we're facing here. Our agents also have access to an assistant that is right within your Salesforce, right? So you are going to be able to build up and create agents, AI agents, specifically for your support desk team. And we can create a bunch of tools that help them do their jobs faster, right? So if I say, for example, I'm this agent, I just want to know what is Emma's entitlement level. This AI agent here has context of the ticket. We know who we're talking about here, and we know what database this information is stored in. So instead of our user going and having to hunt down that information, maybe it's in Salesforce, maybe it's not, maybe it's in another third-party system. Instead of our human agent having to go log in to that system and hunt that information down, we can pull it right in and we can say, hey, Emma's got premium support. She's low churn risk based on recent activity from this user. And, you know, we've had some recent issues, but overall the account is in good standing. Then we can start building up tools, right? So I have some information. This is an issue with the NFS system. And I might just say, how do I fix performance degradation on NFS? And we can build up and create these troubleshooting tools for agents to go in, human agents, to go in and resolve issues faster. And these take two flavors, right? So if we take a step back, what is happening here when a user sends a message to an Aisera agent? That's going into our decision and orchestration engine. And it's really looking at, hey, how do I fulfill this request, right? And there's really two major options here. Number one is knowledge serving, right? Which you've seen a little bit via our Aisera answer. And the other is workflows, right? So if we find any knowledge base article that is relevant to the query, we're going to summarize that and bring it back. You see, in this case, we're actually searching public knowledge base documents, right? So if you have a user and they're having issues with their Outlook and you just want to do a quick search and be brought to their support.microsoft.com support article for that issue, you can do that, right? The other option is workflows, right? Which is, hey, our agent needs to take action on behalf of somebody else. Maybe that's going out to a logging system and pulling some recent logs. Maybe that is executing a debugging script. Maybe that's taking action on behalf of the user that submitted the support desk ticket, like connecting to Microsoft Intune and closing down some of their applications, or maybe it's adding that user to an AD group, right, and doing group management. All of those things can be built up within this Aisera assistant here. Now, before I move on any further, I know some of you are saying this looks great, but we don't use Salesforce as our ticket management system. That's perfectly fine. I'll just show you really quick. We also support other systems like ServiceNow and Zendesk. And as you can see, it looks exactly the same. It's just a plugin that you install into your environment, and you get all of the same functionality. It doesn't matter whether you're in Salesforce or ServiceNow or Zendesk or some other tool. We'll work with you to make sure it's all integrated into the platforms that you use. I'll pause here. Would love if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask them. I'll go ahead and go on to the next case, and we're actually going to log in as a different user here. Just to show you that. You see we're logged into Tom Hanks, and Tom Hanks, different user, experiencing different problems. He is in a different standing, right? So he's going to say, I am having issues with my cloud costs. And that's going to go in, same thing as before. It's going to pull that information that we already have on Tom Hanks and then make a decision on how to move forward. And in this case, we're also going to kind of pass this through and help Tom Hanks submit a support desk ticket. Now, you'll notice we've treated Tom Hanks a little bit differently than we've treated Emma. The reason being, we've pulled in some of his information, and we know that he has very bad sentiment. He's had a lot of reoccurring issues with his cloud costs, and he's a high customer churn. So instead of our AI agent trying to get in the way and ask more questions and potentially annoying Tom Hanks, we're going to immediately send that to the support desk. We're going to make sure we tag and categorize that ticket correctly and make sure it's treated with the appropriate level of urgency, right? So if we click into this ticket now, you'll see we have this same overall analysis. We've pulled in a bunch of different data. We can see he's having some repeated issues, and we can see that he's a standard support customer. He's expressed interest in potentially churning, and this is a high churn risk. So we need to take some immediate action to prevent that. So if I scroll down here on the left-hand side, you'll also notice that this got assigned to a different support desk agent. When our first end user persona, Emma Roberts, submitted a support desk ticket, she got assigned to Mark based on a bunch of custom criteria that was set. And in this case, because Tom Hanks is on the East Coast, because of, again, the language that he speaks, and because he is expressing interest in churning, we have assigned this ticket to Sarah Smart, who is kind of a more senior, more tenured support desk agent. She's on the East Coast, so she's in the same time zone as Tom Hanks. She'll be able to respond a lot quicker to the types of queries that he's having.
Tyler, one question from the
Yeah.
audience. Which LLM is used for this?
Yeah, great question. So we have an LLM gateway, and what that allows us to do is use basically whatever LLM you guys want to use, as long as it supports kind of a standard LLM API. Now, in general, we deploy with either an Azure GPT model that we use. We have an enterprise agreement with Azure GPT, so your chats are never stored and never used for training and all that good stuff. Or we deploy with an on-prem version of Llama that's fine-tuned for IT or customer service or HR type use cases. Those are kind of the two main ones that we see a lot, but we also have other customers that basically say, hey, we would like to use a different LLM, or maybe we want to use our own LLM, and we can support that via our LLM gateway. So that's a great question. Okay. And then just to show you guys again really quick, I'll switch over to my chat. You'll see some of our previous history there, and we can just ask, what is Tom's entitlement level? Again, that's going to go back. That's going to pull in some relevant information for us. We see he's a standard support. We see he's unsatisfied. We have determined he's unsatisfied based on some recent comments he's made, based on the sentiment that he's expressed on recent support issues. And we've deemed him a high churn risk, so we know to be careful. And then, of course, I can ask how to delete snapshots to save data and expenses. So you see here our human support desk agent knows, based on some of the information that we've automatically pulled in here, that, hey, our user Tom Hanks is probably experiencing high costs because stuff isn't getting deleted that should be deleted. So they're using more storage than they realistically need to be. And so we've pulled some other information and documents here from, again, public KV. So I can go in, I can look at how I might delete some of that data and save Tom Hanks some of his money on his costs. Okay, so the next question becomes, what do we do with this information, right? Because if we go back over here, we weren't really working on deflecting these issues, which again, some of our customers, especially ones that are a little bit more uncomfortable with Gen AI, and they don't necessarily want to open it up to their world of users, whether that's internal users or external customer service users. If you want to have a little bit more limited of an experience, that's totally fine. However, if you are interested in having an AI agent that works with your users to try and auto-resolve issues, so those never get escalated up to the support desk, what are we doing in these cases where we don't have any documentation, we don't know how to resolve it, it does get escalated? Well, we are capturing those as an opportunity for knowledge generation. So if I swap over here into the Aisera backend, you can see we have a content generation module. And if I go over here really quick, you can see we have a few different things. We have knowledge clusters and knowledge documents. Basically, the way this works is on regularly scheduled intervals, you have some amount of tickets that are getting to your support desk or getting escalated past your AI agent. Then you have your human support agents come in, triage those issues, resolve those issues, and ultimately fill out resolution notes or add in some case details there. This becomes kind of tribal knowledge, and very oftentimes it's very poorly captured, right? It just kind of goes back into your sea of hundreds or thousands of support desk tickets and is never really documented so that the next support desk agent can come through and leverage that knowledge. In this case, we're pulling that data in. We have all of this data, and we are clustering your tickets, right? So we're looking for similar tickets. You can see here our top cluster is failure to receive Duo push notifications, and we have 13 issues in that knowledge cluster. And those could be similar issues, but maybe they're a little bit different. Maybe different words were used in the ticket. That's all totally fine. We have a bunch of data on these types of issues via resolution notes and via the interaction between the agent and the user, as well as other fields. For each knowledge cluster, we're taking that all in, and then we are using generative AI to create a knowledge base article. That's based on real work that your human support desk agents have done, right? So I can come in here, I can see we have a bunch of information. I could choose to maybe edit some of this stuff, right? This is Gen AI at the end of the day. So we still want to make sure we're going in, checking the work that the AI is coming back with, and maybe making a few edits, doing a little bit of additional polish. And then once we've done that, we can choose to publish that back into our system of record, right? So again, it doesn't matter whether you're storing knowledge in SharePoint or Confluence or Salesforce or ServiceNow or some other system. We will push that back into your document review flow in that system of record. And ultimately, that document will get published back into the knowledge base.
Tyler, another question, which is, you did just show a report on knowledge clusters, but the question is any analytical reports that you'll be showing later in the demo?
Yeah.
I know that wasn't part of our plan, but if you want to just answer
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'll show some analytics here in just a second.
Perfect.
But just to back up, and this will actually segue really nicely into analytics. If you think about the process that's happened here, we had an end user. Again, could be an internal employee, could be an end user in a customer support scenario. They came to the Aisera chat bot agent. They attempted to resolve an issue, and for whatever reason, they weren't able to do it, right? Maybe we don't have the knowledge necessary. Maybe we don't have a workflow. Maybe it's a type of issue that our AI agent should not be solving and we don't want it to solve. So it gets escalated to our support desk. Our human support agents pick that up. They work on the ticket. They fill out, resolution notes and other details and close that ticket out. That ticket gets re-ingested into Aisera. We create a knowledge base article, which is reviewed and double-checked by a human. And that knowledge article eventually gets published back into your knowledge base. That knowledge base gets re-ingested on a scheduled interval by your Aisera AI agent. And so next time a user comes back and they say, hey, I'm having this issue, maybe we weren't able to resolve that issue before, but now all of a sudden we've documented some of that tribal knowledge, we've pushed it back into the knowledge base, and now our AI agent can auto-resolve that issue, which in turn, of course, increases your auto-deflection rate, and it's just getting you guys more and more value over time. Now, that's a great segue into analytics, because part of what we're doing here is kind of tracking everything at each step along the way, right? We're looking at all of the user requests that are coming in. We're looking at where users are using this thing, right? We want to drive adoption. Which users are using this? Where are they using this from? Which channel are they coming in from? Are they coming in from a Copilot channel, a web chat channel, a Slack channel, a Teams channel? What geographies are my users using this thing in, right? And then, some advanced requests, right? How are these requests being fulfilled? And what are my top knowledge articles being used? And are people in general satisfied with the answers they get? When users enter into a workflow, such as you see this software application access workflow, are users completing that workflow, or are they abandoning that workflow, right? And giving negative feedback on that workflow. Okay, that probably suggests there's an opportunity for us to improve either the workflow or knowledge. And we can keep deep diving and double clicking on into this. And that also applies to our agent assist piece here. So we're looking at how agents are using this tool. And all of these analytics are very, very focused on how do we get you from a auto deflection rate of 50%, 60%, we aim for 75% on initial deployment, up to an 80%, 85%, 90%. I think the highest that I've seen off the top of my head is a 93% auto deflection rate. And how do we get there? Well, it's a journey, right? We want to look at our analytics. We want to understand who's using this agent. We want to drive that adoption up. And we also want to look at where are users attempting to use this agent and it's not fulfilling their request. It's not helping them resolve their issue. And then that way we can come in, we can improve our AI agent, and that auto resolution rate goes up over time. Awesome.
Thank you for
Okay.
that. That was helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one more quick thing I want to address before I move on here is I always get asked, if we go back to this knowledge generation piece, what happens if we have a business process or a system and it recently upgraded or got updated and it's changed and it's a little bit different now, right? So we already have a knowledge base article that, let's say, is in SharePoint, but something changes and that knowledge article needs to be updated, right? Very classic story. These things get stale over time and they need maintenance. So in this case, you see one of our top knowledge clusters is printers not connecting to the computer. And of course, we've gone through and we have generated a bunch of knowledge base articles based off of that. But we've also identified a similar knowledge base article that we already have in our knowledge base, right? So what we can do here is say, hey, we recently updated this business process. Our AI knowledge article may actually be capturing some additional information that wasn't necessary before, wasn't included in the original knowledge base article. So we can leverage some of that and update our knowledge article that we have in our system, or maybe we just want to replace and publish that back into our system of record, right? So we're doing both. We're creating brand new knowledge articles on topics that we have never created before. And we're also looking for similar documents. I see we have a question. Can we have multiple templates for articles to follow, or need to stick to only one template? That's an excellent question. The templates are fully customizable, right? And if you guys want to use different templates for different things, that is absolutely doable here. And you can see here is where we do that. If we go over to job configuration, we can set some of that up and set what template we want to use and which data sources we want to use, right? So you might even have different ticketing systems for different things, right? Maybe your HR team uses a different ticketing system than your IT team does. So we can run all of those things separately. We can use a different template for each knowledge base, right? Again, maybe your HR team formats their documents a little bit differently than your IT team does. Great question. All right. One last thing that I want to show here, just again, kind of reinforcing how our users can work with a support desk agent. So I'm going to close out some of my Salesforce tabs here, and I'm going to log into my live chat on Salesforce. And I'm going to go to a different portal. You can see this is our Aisera web chat, very classic, sits in the bottom right-hand corner of your web page. Could be any portal or web page that you guys have. We'll open that up. We see we have some quick suggestion buttons here. In this case, I'm going to say I'm interested in the Kixo Cloud Guide. It's going to give us back some information, do a little bit of knowledge serving, and let's say I'm unhappy with that answer, right? Now I'm going to go into a fallback flow, right? Because I have indicated that I'm unsatisfied with that answer, and we're going to give that user a few different options, right? Ask a new question, try again, find a live agent, or help me create a support desk ticket. And in this case, I want to find a live agent, right? I'm just going to click customer service here. And that's going to transfer me seamlessly to a live agent. If I pop over here to Salesforce, you see that chat coming in. You see I have full context as to everything that was shared with the user thus far. And I can start immediately having a conversation. What are you doing? Okay, I can send that back to the user. They get the message. And of course, it works the other direction as well. This is a really great tool. Again, just gives us another escalation path if we want to put a AI agent in front of your end users and basically say, hey, we're going to try to fix your issue. And if we can't fix your issue, we're going to help you escalate it. And it's really up to you guys how we want to treat that escalation. Live agent, ticket, something else, right? The other thing that I'll note just for this system here is we do also have omnidirectional chat. So let's say right now I'm logged into Laxmi, and if he happened to be a Spanish speaking agent or some other language, I can chat back and forth with each user speaking in their own native language, and the AI will handle the translation in the middle, right? So you can have a end user who speaks English talking to a support desk agent that speaks Spanish.
And with that, I want to thank everyone for joining us today for the 8th installment in our monthly demo series. Thank you, Tyler, for a wonderful demonstration, and we look forward to hosting you all again.